I'm going to start this lecture. Don't drink and drive. All right. So project update 3 check. So last week you guys were supposed to install Git, initiate Git on your project folder, stage, and commit your changes. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that you guys have that in your project folders. So I'm just going to go around and check manually. I already know you have it. Git. You've used it in other classes. So open up your project, please. You guys are going to open up your terminals. And then you're going to CD into your project.
Wait, where did we save it?
So you're not. So Git is stored on your entire computer, right? However, when you're using Git, it only activates when you initialize it in any repository. So I want you guys to CD. So you guys are going to go to your terminal and you're going to CD into your project.
Can you tell if I just did it manually and not with the...
So I want to see what your progress is with the Git. So I want to make sure that you guys have a Git repository instantiated.
Yeah.
So you'll need to open up your terminal through, or sorry, you need to open up your project through the terminal in order for me to see that.
Isn't there like a visual Git?
Yeah.
Thing?
But I don't want you guys to use that yet.
What if we used it but deleted it and then we think we did it with code?
Well, I would be able to check to see if you guys had it and you used it the right way if you went into your terminal and were able to reproduce the commands.
Does it just basically control the terminal for you?
Essentially, yeah. But I want you guys to start getting familiarized with the terminal just because you guys are going to be doing a lot of other stuff in the terminal when you guys become web developers.
Yeah, so where are we seeding to?
You guys are seeding into your project.
Which is where?
I don't know. Where'd you guys store your project?
I forgot. Let's see. We'll look for it.
So you guys remember the commands? What are the commands to list all the files from where you're at?
LS.
LS.
Yeah. And then if you want more info,
Then
do a dash and then something.
dash A. LS-A will show all the hidden files as well, right?
Yeah. That's what I said.
That's what he said. And Juan, how do you go into a project?
How do you mean into the folder?
Yeah.
You use CD and type the name of the folder.
Exactly. And then how do you go back?
CD.dot.
Yep. CD space dot.
So yeah.
Exactly.
But look. Down.
Alright. What happened? Are you using brackets?
See, like watch.
I believe you.
Over here opens up this part.
Oh, that's cool.
The touch. I don't know if touch works in here.
It should. Yeah.
There we go, and then it keeps everything on track. I'm on track that I committed. Blah blah. Look, Patel. My creation. And then when I have it properly synced up, I can just push it up like that.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, then watch. So this is save. Then this is like all this like this stuff that has to be committed there.
That's so cool. So it does the stage for you too.
Yeah.
When you commit.
Stage. Just check in the stage and then commit it.
Wow. That is great. Yeah, brackets is pretty amazing.
Professor, I need some help going into
The project?
folder, yeah.
Okay, so what's your folder called? Oh, where is it in? Okay, so it's inside desktop, right? So you have to
Yeah.
CD into desktop first. Yeah, CD. And then is it capitalized?
Desktop?
Yeah, I think it's capitalized, right? Enter. Hit LS to see what's in there. And you want to CD into what?
Oh,
Web, right?
yeah.
So CD web.
But I just typed it.
You can just type CD and it's you just want to look it back. So now I have to go desktop. This is good practice. Okay, now,
And then CD. No wait, LS.
yeah, check what's in there.
Okay. Uninstall.
Same commands.
Yeah. LS might check it.
You're just using two commands right now.
LS and CD.
Yeah, ls and cd, that's it.
That's it?
Well, are you in your project yet?
I think so. Oh, no wait.
No.
So CD is final project.
And then, oh, it says that that's not the name of it. So, 'cause you just, yeah, so just hit CD and then FI. So space FI, now hit tab.
F5.
Oh, no. Yep, FI, now hit tab, watch, it completes it for you. Now hit enter. Now hit ls. Type in pwd when you want to make sure we're in the right directory. So your final project. Now I want you to check to make sure there's a Git repository. So type in git status. Ooh, you didn't create a Git repository in there.
Really? My friend checked it last time. He said that it was good.
Doesn't seem to be. Maybe you created it.
This time?
Maybe you created in your Git project. So what you need to do is in your project, you're going to initiate a Git repository. So you're going to go into your terminal. So how do you initialize a Git repository? What's the command for that?
Like to see it?
To initialize, like when you first start using Git in your project, what's the command to do that?
I don't know.
Does anyone remember what the command is to initialize a Git repository?
Like init?
Yeah, git init. Git space.
I'll stay silent.
That's it.
So no one answers.
Yeah, you've already had my classes. There. Now initialize an empty Git repository inside your project, right? So what's happening is you have this empty Git repository which stores all of your project files and everything inside version control. Now this is an invisible project folder that you don't want to access manually. You only want to access it through Git commands. So if you typed in ls right now in there, it doesn't show up, right? But if you type in ls space -a, now you'll see .git. It's invisible. You don't want to access it. Do you see .git? Yeah. So that's a folder actually, the directory. So now we have Git starting to be used inside that directory. Now we want to start making some changes. So we want to stage our changes. We want to start tracking our changes. So we hit Git status again. I think you didn't type it right. So it says Git status is not command. Okay. There you go. Now, hey, how do you stage everything?
LS?
No, those are Unix commands. You're talking about just Git commands. How do you stage? Well, Git status will tell you.
Init, my bad.
Well, no. You had my class yesterday.
I know.
So Git add -a, capital A, will stage everything. Space, not capital, just, yeah, space, dash, capital A. And then hit enter. Now hit Git status. I think you hit Git status. Lucas, on time as always. So right now we're checking to make sure our work is done correctly. So you're gonna open up your project in your terminal. You're gonna CD into it, and I'm gonna make sure that you have a Git repository that has staged and committed changes.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. So now make sure all your projects are well. pwd is a Unix command.
Oh, so there's not like where you're checking like that?
No, Git. What checks to see your? So the only things that can check what's happening in your project for your Git commands are going to be starting with the word Git.
Oh, Git status.
Right? Yeah.
Oh.
So the Unix commands like cd, ls, and things like that, they don't start with Git. All the Git commands, guess what they start with?
Git.
Yeah. So if you want to check the status status of your Git repository, what do? You type in Git. Yeah. And now it says changes to be committed, and all these changes that need to be committed, right? That means they need to be hard saved. So to do a hard save, how to do a commit? What's the command for a commit? It's okay not to memorize, but I want to make sure that you guys are practicing this. So git commit. You guys remember this? How do you do a git commit?
Git commit.
Okay, git commit.
And then you have to put brackets there, string name.
Not brackets, but dash.
Was it a dash?
Dash M
For message.
for message. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
Dash M.
Yeah, and then hit space. Nope.
Where have
Hit
you been,
space.
man?
So it's okay. Just go
Where
back
have you
up.
been?
Just hit up in the arrow key.
Who told you to be sick?
Up, down, down.
You said it's okay to be sick? Yeah.
There you go. And hit space. Now in quotation marks. Now we're gonna put the message that's gonna say what changes we made. And then you're gonna write a message about what changes you made, right? So what are you committing? Right now we just added whatever was in there, right? So you can just write added whatever was in there.
So I can just,
Yeah, it's a message, so you can just type whatever you want, like a sentence.
okay, I mean, it has to be something that what's going on right now.
Yeah, so what you just did, so you just made a bunch of changes, right? You can just write, I just added everything.
What week is this?
This is 4th.
Four.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna take my date?
Mm-hmm.
Bam.
Okay, but let me see if you did it. Yes, you did.
Somebody
Perfect.
else I cheated?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't cheat.
Okay.
I think somebody did.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
At least you didn't cheat. Okay, yeah, you PC guys can be right next to each other too. You guys can help each other out with PC commands. And then I want groups as well. So Edgar, you're gonna be with Lydia,
Okay.
and Frank's gonna come in, and Frank's gonna be with your guys' group too, I think.
3 against 2.
Yeah, exactly. But then he's taken my classes before, so it might not be fair.
So it's like 3 against 3?
Yeah, it's essentially 3 against 3.
Your family counts to me.
You gonna take that one?
So take the call, man.
Like THAT? Okay.
It's not my brain's fast. I'm probably, even though my body's
Okay. Alright, so we went over a lot of stuff last time. Let's see if we can recall anything. And Lucas, make sure that you have your project up. Sorry, your project up in your terminal, because I'm going to be checking it. So last week, this is our Git Workflow. So because this is a more advanced class, I'm just going to go through this real fast. So when you have a project folder, we initialize a Git repository in there to begin with. That creates an invisible or hidden folder called .git, and that is where all your information is stored. Once you have that, you can then start tracking files. When you hit git status in your project folder, you're going to see a bunch of untracked files. So anytime you make any kind of changes in your project, you're going to see a bunch of untracked changes. It's going to say untracked changes when you hit git status, right? So if I went in here and I typed in like git status, right now it says nothing to commit because I haven't made any changes, but if I hit it when I made some changes in my Sublime text or something, then it's going to say some changes were made. It's going to say untracked changes. So then from there, we'd have to push those changes to staging if we want to start saving those changes. So to save changes, it sounds like it's confusing, but it's actually pretty easy. All you're doing is staging and committing. Anytime you want to save changes to your project, you're staging and then you're committing. Staging is a soft save. Commit is a hard save. So to stage, you do git add -a, and then to commit, you do git commit -m, and then you put a message saying, I've made such and such changes. For example, like let's say you changed the CSS. I've changed the CSS. Okay, so once you have that, then you're going to push up to your GitHub repository. You want to make sure that you have a GitHub repository set up. So when you go to github.com, you make sure that you created a repository. So you went here, you went through this whole process of creating some repository, calling it some, naming it the same as your project. So, same as project. I'm just going to call it same as project. And then you created this repository. And then you took this line over here and you said, okay, now I'm going to connect these two repositories. So then you copied and pasted that line. And this enables your GitHub repository to connect to your local repository. So now they're communicating with each other. And again, this is just review, so I'm going pretty fast. From here, then what you guys did was you said, okay, now that I'm connected to my GitHub repository, now I'm going to push that repository. So I do git push origin master, right? And you hit that, and right now everything's up to date, so it's telling me everything's up to date, but normally you'd see like, compressing objects, doing a bunch of things, and then it hopefully should say, okay, pushed up, everything's good to go. All right, so I'm just going to delete this one, this fake repository. Okay. Once you do that, let's see here. Now let's say some changes were made to your project. So if you guys were working on a team, then if you wanted to download the latest changes, then you just type in git pull origin master. And again, this is if you're still working in just the master branch. And this is just a Git workflow if you guys are working in one branch. If you guys were working in multiple branches, then this would be different. You guys would be using, git pull origin, then some other branch or whatever if you're trying to pull that latest branch. Depending on which branch you're pushing up and pulling, that's the one that you want to specify. So if you're saying git push origin and then CSS changes, then that's the branch that you're pushing up, right? If you're doing git pull origin, CSS changes, what am I doing here? Hello? So what am I doing here when I do git pull origin CSS changes? Anyone? Edgar?
Wait, what happened?
When I type in git pull origin CSS changes, what am I doing?
You're pulling the Git origin CSS changes?
You're pulling CSS changes branch from the origin from all that.
Yes. So you're pulling the changes. So you're downloading the changes, the latest changes from your branch called CSS changes to whatever branch you're working on. So let's say that I have a branch called CSS changes, right? Now this is an exact copy of master, right? So I have 3 branches now. Can anyone list my 3 branches that I have up here?
Master,
Mm-hmm.
CSS changes, and
Blog. Okay, excellent. So now we're going to switch to, can anyone tell me how to switch to another branch? No, not you. Frank, how do I switch to another branch?
you CD out of it, or you CD into it.
Is that how you use git commands? You cd into them?
Or no, you get into branch.
How do I get into my branch?
With Git branch?
That's how you create a branch.
Check out branch?
Yes, git checkout, and then the name of the branch. Excellent. So you have CSS changes, and now, which branch am I on?
CSS, CSS.
And how do I check that?
The Git,
Status.
Nope.
Okay, what branch you're in?
Yeah,
Check what branch you're in? Okay.
I'm not gonna say it though.
Git branch.
Yep, git branch, and that tells you what branch you're on.
Or it says right next to your name.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily happen all the time. Some people don't have certain git bash profiles. Okay, so now I can pull changes into this branch, right? So I say git pull, or let's say I want to push this branch up. I do git push origin, and then what do I type in?
Push or master?
Do I do master?
Wait, what are you trying to do?
I'm gonna try to push up my CSS changes branch.
Oh, it's a Git push and then the name of the branch.
Git push and the name of the branch, or